Demon King Anos dreamt of the divine architect Militia. Their meeting was fate, forging an unbreakable bond. She has a younger sister he's never met. The divine moon is fading, and time on earth is running out. But Anos doesn't dwell on this. Instead, he asks for her sister's name. 7 years later, they reunite, with a precious gift from Militia, a letter from her sister. Reading that letter, Militia's happiness shines like sunlight. She pleads for the Demon King's favor. Meanwhile, Anos is cared for by his mother like a baby, not even a year old actually, just 6 months old. Misa is invited by him to wake up Zaza. She's still deep asleep, unbothered by being carried off love's embrace works wonders. Unlike others who'd snap awake, she's shy but clearly delighted. That adorable little sister sees her sister's joy and feels it too. Mature beyond her years, she's kindly nudged by Zaza to fulfill her duties as a younger sibling. Anos teaches her a few selfish words, but she confesses feeling sad because Anos can no longer attend school with them. The world already knows he's the ruthless Demon King now. If he still went to school, chaos would follow. Besides, a Demon King doesn't need school, it's a tiring thought. Seeing his 2 beloved wives so downcast, Anos hatches a plan. If the ruthless Demon King can't attend school, he'll just take on another identity. Problem solved. Anos is introduced as a 6-year-old transfer student under a new name, Anos again. Some wonder how he passed the entrance exam. The teacher smiles, saying nothing's impossible, praising him as a genius. Though flattering, there's a hint of jealousy beneath. 4 girls witness Anos's childish antics and find it amusing, but with his old personality, trouble is inevitable. Arrogance, that's the privilege of the powerful. Anos believes any problem can be solved with strength. He introduced himself as a genius from the start, so no worries there. Today also brings a special teacher new to instruct swordsmanship. Even Misa is surprised, more so when the teacher is the legendary Theod Thuma, a demon lord from 2,000 years ago. The class is renamed the Great Demon King Training Class. The students find Teacher Elm strange, wondering what he's been eating. He explains why the academy must strengthen its students, though the Demon King has revived. The current demon tribe is weak, and the Demon King needs worthy opponents. Suddenly, Elm clutches his chest, overwhelmed, and stops talking. Welcome to the Great Demon Lord Training Class. Everyone was puzzled seeing Teacher Elm acting so strangely. What on earth had he eaten? Elm shared with the students why the academy must strengthen its warriors. Though the Demon Lord has been resurrected, the current demon race is too weak, and the Demon Lord needs worthy rivals. But as he spoke, Elm was suddenly struck by chest pain and fell silent. Curiosity buzzing, everyone turned to Anos, who revealed the power of Z. Whenever someone opposes or insults him, they suffer a fitting punishment proportional to their offense. That old man was sly and quick-witted, skillfully flattering Anos to keep him pleased. The first lesson was Elm's request. Still uncertain of their true strength, he challenged each student to die at least once for him to see their limits. Hearing this, the students' faces fell, weighed down like an unbearable burden. Meanwhile, Misa trained hard under her lover's guidance but feared transforming into her ultimate form. There were many reasons, but the deepest was her fear that Day would hate her. Day was at a loss. Could hatred exist where love wasn't even complete? Their sweet love hung in the balance, but just as their lips were about to meet, a father's intervention stopped them cold. The father insisted that if his daughter was going to be courted, she'd need to prove her worth. As previously stated, he wanted them to die a few times to test themselves. The battle between the 2 swordsmen began. Anos, thrilled by their excitement, watched eagerly. Misa saw their duel so real, so fierce. Were they truly risking death? Men explained they were merely communicating through their blades. Death wasn't on the table, he assured her. Overhearing their conversation, Day pleaded to take Misa under his protection, but the father remained firm and begged. The other refused, convinced Day's skills were too raw to safeguard his daughter. Day, serious as ever, unleashed a secret technique that severed Day's opponent's form before he could react. After recovering, Day was strictly forbidden from taking Misa out at night, much to his frustration. Yet, in that brief moment, he managed to land a hit on his future father-in-law, earning some encouragement. They remind each other that only through effort can they be together. The others feel the looming presence of death, pushing them to find their roots and grow stronger. Watching from above, Anos is suddenly challenged to a solo duel by Ramon. It's amusing he agrees to spar a bit. Ramon wants to question the current royal family, believing they should be nobler, not equal to commoners. That hits a nerve with Anos, who'd already declared the same before. This foolish guy dares to act insolent, so Anos strikes him down with a single blow, rebirth granted instantly. The scene feels oddly familiar, making Ramon terrified to the point of wetting himself. But upon realizing his younger brother's overwhelming power, Ramon invites him after school to meet the royal faction leader. As luck would have it, Anos stumbles on this matter and heads to the tiger's den. There, they introduce a dragon and reveal Anos's superhuman ability, asking him to transform the dragon into a monster and empower it to wreak havoc. Currently, they have about 10 dragons used to damage the Demon King's forces. Their ultimate goal? To restore the royal family's rightful dominance. Anos plays dumb, then boosts the dragon's power. But the dragon isn't a simple creature, it goes berserk, losing control and attacking anything in sight with wild glee. That's enough for Enoshi wipes out the dragon, leaving everyone shocked. They learn that 10 dragons alone aren't enough to cause real harm. Time's up. Anos reverts to his tyrannical Demon King form, sending fear through them. Each is given a ring to suppress their beastly instincts. He forbids any rebellion, even in dreams a death awaits. Obedience is the only way to survive. Within the royal faction, things tighten up. That night, Emilia comes seeking the Demon King's help, saying there's no place left for her here and begging for rescue. Anos agrees, but makes it clear the only one who can truly save her is herself. He'll arrange for her reinstatement as a teacher, but not here. Instead, she'll teach at the Hero Academy, where even Demon Kings are treated equally. That place has lost faith in humanity, causing students to struggle. Anos wants her to redeem herself there, promising to promote her later to a rank equal to the Seven Devils Elder. Emilia accepts, willing to suffer now for future happiness. Soon after, Anos receives news of people being devoured in the hero's homeland. He plans to send his 2,000-year-old subordinates, but intervening could cause trouble later. Makes sense. Instead, Anos decides to use the exchange program between the Demon King Academy and the Hero Academy. Just found a quality teacher for the heroes too. The next day, they teleport to the Hero Academy, no more walking. Nia, a top student, can teleport herself with a little help from her teacher. She's insecure, but gets some mind-opening advice. Truly thoughtful. Emilia then starts teaching, but immediately yells at the noisy crowd. Some say she's new and clueless, mocking her. Elm has to step in, proposing a game to settle things. The winner can cancel the entire student exchange program. Humans get to pick any game beneficial to them. Heine, representing the humans, chooses Dice highest roll wins. She tosses a 5. Then it's Anos's turn. The tension is unreal as he slams a 6 down like he's crushing fate itself. Actually, the dice were tampered with, but for the strong, tricks mean nothing. Suddenly, only Anos hears a voice from someone asking the Almighty if they can forge a sword that can defeat anyone. If the sword wins, it's the sword's power. If it loses, the wielder isn't truly almighty. The answer? No one is truly almighty in this world. Anos wonders if there's any other answer and invites anyone to tell him. This unexpected question weighs heavily on him. Just then, the arrogant Principal Zamira strides in, announcing a royal decree for the elite class. A dragon is rampaging, and they want these students to handle it. Emilia bristles at his attitude, but, as a newcomer, feels powerless. The hero cannons get invited to a royal banquet. DY, belonging to the demon clan, refuses immediately. When Anos invites him swimming after class, he agrees without caring about the banquet. Zamira mocks their side, calling them fake heroes, sparking fury in Lano and Laos. He belittles their people, forcing them to risk their lives. Emilia hears this and feels enraged that her students are sent into danger. She wonders if being a hero is even worth it if death ends everything. Why obey orders? Zamira grows angry at a teacher daring to interfere with royal orders and threatens to send her back home unless she kneels and apologizes. Emilia considers it, but then is protected by her student's threat to expose Zamira's shame. Seeing this, Zamira flees in disgrace. Emilia scolds her students for overreacting. She'd rather kneel than cause trouble. But some of her students are disrespectful, calling her trash and walking off. Emilia's struggles as a teacher are far from over, especially since she dislikes people and bought lots of canned food to eat alone. The problem? The food is enchanted and doesn't affect demons. She keeps smashing the cans to no avail. Anos comes to help crack them open, and gets praised for his skill despite his youth. His form is unique, hiding his true self, and he seems gentle. The teacher invites him to sit and eat together, even advising him kindly. The student was forced to change how they spoke, for it mirrored the most sarcastic man alive. They spoke of Anos being royalty once like her, until a wicked sorcerer cursed her to become a half-breed. She once took pride in her royal bloodline, dreaming of eternal happiness. But since Anos stole everything from her, she's been scorned, still looked down upon, even now when teaching. Yet, despite stepping into this new place, she realizes the disdain she faces isn't so different from what she endured among the demon clan. Perhaps this is the price to pay for her past deeds. Anos listens to her heartfelt confession and teaches her proper manners, bringing a rare smile to her face. Later, as planned, The group heads out to swim, and Anos kindly arranges new clothes for everyone's swimwear that lifts their spirits. Sasha feels shy in her bold outfit, while another explains that such attire is perfect for swimming unrestricted and freeing. Ellen and Jessica craft a throne to flaunt before Anos, who shrinks down to pamper this little one. They thank him for giving Jessica the freedom to play joyfully. Nearby, couples flirt shyly. Misa feels embarrassed in her swimsuit, but Day praises her beauty, lightening the mood. Their happy moment is interrupted when Misa's stern father arrives, determined to stop this relationship. He challenges Day to a swimming race from one shore to the other, staking his claim. Confident, Day accepts immediately, and the two powerhouses dive into the water, racing fiercely. Meanwhile, Misa is swept away by her friends for a game of ball, so when the swimmers return, they can't even tell who won. Exhausted from the fierce contest, both collapse. That night, on the way back, Anos senses something amiss and separates to confront it. Enter Ahit, the cardinal of Jordan's divine dragon land. He claims to be the selector, and Anos, the demon king. Then, the goddess who questioned Anos earlier in class appears. Ahit demands to see Anos as god, as he too is one of the 8 divine selectors. Anos, bewildered and uninterested in divine politics, prepares for battle. Ahit orders the goddess to attack. She conjures a moon that resembles Militia, but it isn't her. She introduces herself as Akana, a chosen deity. The moonlight freezes Anos, but he brushes it off as a trivial game. Ahit wants answers about the selection trials and god summoning, but when he refuses to cooperate, Anos strikes back fiercely. When Ahit is ambushed, Akana steps in to protect him. Anos senses something peculiar about Akana, but drives a blade through her anyway. She urges Ahit to retreat, saying they can't win now. Anos, still clueless about this so-called selection, listens as she explains it's a trial guiding humans to gods. Exceptional individuals are tested and granted divine representative power. Anos was chosen because one of the 8 selectors picked him. The details lie underground, waiting for Anos to explore further. When Anos asks about the question from earlier that morning, Akana doesn't answer and leaves, as both sides avoid further conflict. The next day, students from 2 schools undergo a new style of training to prepare for dragon hunting. The first game is a chase, and because 3 broke the rules last time, they remain defiant. Elm sets a challenge. Run to a distant tree within 3 minutes. No magic allowed. Only upon arrival do they realize how close their goal truly is, and what's waiting for them beyond. This was the lair of the female dragon. The fallout? The other 3 were wiped out yesterday. Only now did the legendary teacher discover the dragon's nest buried in the earth and conceive this intense training idea. Honestly, real combat drills like these outpace any routine practice. So today's lesson: everyone must chase and catch the dragon, racing to the big tree within 3 minutes to pass. Of course, death is on the table. But death here isn't the end, they'll be resurrected instantly, so go ahead and die as many times as you want. 3 minutes is also the window for revival, but what happens next depends on their true strength. Teacher Shin advises caution. The earth dragon's hearing is razor sharp. Running normally won't cut it, they must move silently. The 3 loudmouths, after dying multiple times, finally got scared and decided to retreat. Their starting zone was safe, so when trouble arose, they could retreat and rethink. While the others trembled in fear, Anos found something thrilling. His wives didn't understand yet, but followed anyway. With just a single look gaze of true strength, Anos toppled all opposition. His target was the dragon's nest. He even commanded 1 dragon to take him there. This tied back to a clue the little goddess mentioned yesterday about something hidden underground, with no better place than the dragon's nest. Both wives had heard the tale, but stepping into this other world left them utterly stunned. Who would have guessed that deep beneath the earth lay this phantom realm? The entire place was fashioned some 2,000 years ago. Its inhabitants worshipped gods and revered dark magic. Their powers were a mirror to humans and demons alike, suggesting their ancestors once walked the surface world. After some travel, they noticed Ahit tailing them. Here, a truce forbade chaos, no fighting allowed. Ahit revealed that the only battleground in this sanctuary was the selection zone. He led the trio there, reasoning that since beating Anos was impossible, they might as well test themselves in the trials. Akana was already waiting to welcome them to this ancient academy, born in the era of divine rights. The trial to become the god's chosen representative was to sit on the throne the deity once left behind. Those selected by the gods were called the 8 divine elect. Anos's seat remained empty. Every participant received a luminous ring and formed a sacred covenant through faith in the choosing god. Since Anos hadn't pledged to any deity yet, his ring didn't glow, signaling he wasn't officially chosen. He hadn't met the selecting god either, leaving him to wonder who drew him into this trial and why. Once chosen, turning back wasn't an option. The title, the Untouchable One, had already been etched into Anos's personal throne. When Anos asked unrelated questions, Ahit ignored him. Knowing this was a school, Anos took his wives to dig into the archives. Ahit warned that being chosen meant becoming a target, but Anos didn't care if gods themselves could be slain. Why should he fear? At the library, scholars painstakingly decoded ancient stone tablets word by word, but Anos read fluently, astonishing everyone. According to the records, this underground world was indeed created 2,000 years ago. Its people were dragon-born, their ancestors, born from dragons who consumed their primal essence, transforming into a life form within their bodies, eventually birthing offspring with dragon blood but human form. The locals were mere descendants of those primordial beings, weaker than the first generation. Meanwhile, Misa stumbled upon a hidden tablet mysteriously. She could read the divine language inscribed upon it. Thankfully, Militia had taught her this language before, so Anos could understand it too. It described an underground castle of the gods, with other parts written as riddles for readers to interpret. Suddenly, one of the 8 divine elect confronted Anos, calling him a heretic from the surface world. Before their battle, he introduced himself as Gazel, the holy knight of this land. Summoning his god, the fight began, but before the incantation finished, Anos attacked. Luckily, Gazel managed to call forth his deity, a goddess with extraordinary healing powers, nearly impossible to defeat. Anos launched a relentless assault, testing her famed regeneration. True enough, she healed rapidly. But this was Anos, wielding myriad abilities. She could be called the God-Slayer. The goddess took a hit, losing an arm and shattering her bond with Gazel. All this chaos stemmed from Gazel's foolish commands. Even without his god, Gazel refused to back down, determined to redeem his honor through battle. Though godless now, he still harnessed residual divine power. Moving at lightning speed, Misa was still more formidable, blocking attacks effortlessly. Anos dealt Gazel a final blow, stabbing him to see if destroying a god's power would disrupt this world's order. But to his surprise, nothing changed. Despite annihilating Gazel's divine strength, the realm remained intact. The battle concluded with scholars awestruck by the Demon King's might from the surface. Gazel, utterly defeated, faced Akana reclaiming the Judgment Ring. The final sentence for him was death. She absorbed the ring's power to strengthen Ahit's body. As the cardinal, she executed the loser mercifully death as kindness. Anos found this ironic. Evildoers playing saintly roles was almost laughable. Ahit seethed but was powerless, knowing Akana wasn't yet fully defeated. He even exposed their plan to absorb more power to fight Anos. After Ahit left, Akana revived the fallen. She wasn't evil. The real villain was the manipulator behind the scenes. When asked why she chose Ahit, she revealed he was beyond redemption, and she was the last true deity. The little goddess advised them to return to the surface, but withheld her reasons. The two sides remained enemies, and belief was optional. Misa sensed that gods couldn't truly perceive emotions, yet Akana seemed drained, wandering like a thirsty soul lost in the desert. Soon, the trio returned to find their lesson over. Everyone was exhausted but still counted as passing. At this rate, they could march on the dragon hunt without fear of death in a few days. Ramon reported that someone behind the scenes was summoning dragons to cause chaos. After the fight, once Ahis departed, Akana revived the slain for their transgressions. She wasn't evil herself, the true villain was the puppeteer pulling the strings. When asked why she chose him, it was clear Ahis was beyond salvation and she herself a final goddess. She urged them to return to the surface, withholding her true reasons. They remained enemies, and belief was a choice. Misa sensed that the gods could not perceive emotions, yet there was something in Akanar weary longing, as if wandering a parched desert with no water. The three then returned to find class dismissed, everyone exhausted but deemed successful. At this rate, soon they might dare to hunt dragons without fear. Ramon reported on a sinister force behind the scenes, attempting to mobilize dragons for chaos, marked by a ring identical to the one Anos carried. So the Puppet Master was one of the 8 divine selected, a formidable opponent residing in the human palace. That night, the group ventured to the castle to investigate, but the eerie silence was suffocating, filling Zaza with dread. They hadn't yet planned to infiltrate. The next day, Teacher Elm explained how to defeat a dragon after the class survived escaping one. Elm spoke of the Warrior's Barrier Magica collective spell that not only defends but can strike. It harnesses mana gathered from others to unleash its power. Yet this technique only works against weaker dragons. The ancient green dragons demand a desperate gamble to slay quickly and decisively. With this knowledge, the class prepared for the daunting challenge ahead, aware that their unity and courage would be tested. Each lesson was a step closer to mastering the strength they needed not just to survive, but to carve their legend in a world where demons and dragons clashed under crimson skies. The barrier couldn't hold for long. On top of that, there was a fierce red dragon known as a mutated dragon. The best way to face such a beast? Run as fast as you can never look back. It was far beyond their strength. Emilia, tasked with setting an example for the younger ones, despite being part demon, was now a half-blood of the Seika family and fully capable. After 2 attempts, she succeeded, unleashing her full power. The top students cheered and praised Emilia's cuteness, secretly distracted by her charm. That loss of focus caused them to mess up the formation. As the teacher and students bickered, the principal stepped in, mocking them for fleeing the dragon. If they were true hero-class warriors, they'd fight to the death. This time he brought soldiers along, so the trio couldn't do much. He then invited Lei and Misa to a banquet, and this time they accepted, following Anos's plan. Lao seethed with rage at being insulted again. Emilia tried to stop him from causing chaos, but got pushed away. No matter how hard they tried, they were just fake hero-as-everything felt meaningless. Emilia slapped him once for being ridiculous and told him to leave if he wasn't serious about learning. Seeing their friend kicked out, the other two stood up to leave with him. They couldn't abandon each other. In the end, all the demon students walked away. Maybe that was for the best, because the warrior's barrier only works when everyone's united. Professor Elm then summoned the demon students to fight dragons. Anos stayed behind to comfort Emilia, who looked deeply saddened. Meanwhile, at the palace, Lei and Misa met the king, the 106th monarch, King Leus. He got straight to the point, asking Lei for help because the royal family was stricken with illness. If things continued, there'd be no heir. Lei's sword was rumoured to cut through anything cursed. The principal also vouched for bringing in the hero-class warrior, Kana Nong, to ask for a reward. The king agreed, demanding he keep supporting the warrior academy. Lei found this guy annoying. Meanwhile, Anos gave the teacher a lucky charm bell that could also heal the soul, easing her worries. She confessed feeling guilty for letting the students get angry and leave. Anos insisted it wasn't her fault the students left to protect their pride. Emilia's own past was similar, which made her lose control. A good teacher faces their students' emotions and helps them heal, but Emilia felt powerless. Anos praised her as a great teacher, touching her heart. Inspired by his words, she resolved to try harder after all. She'd come this far as an educator. On the other side of the battlefield, Lei and Misa were shown royal coffins that could slow the royal family's curse. But when opened, they were empty, just traps. Suddenly, a white dragon appeared, attacking the pair with sticky resin. The king revealed his true face, viewing dragons as divine messengers, offering his body as a sacred vessel. His soul might find true salvation from the divine. Misa inquired about the other royal family members, only to learn they were all devoured by dragons. She herself received a prophecy, to offer the warrior Kanong to the dragon, and then he would be united with the deity. Lai guessed the mastermind was Hit, but he kept silent and summoned an entity to attack and seize Misa's consciousness. Lai was ready to intervene, but Misa resisted, still in control. Just when it seemed she'd been possessed, Lai rushed in and embraced her. It turned out that even gods can't control her heart because that part was already stolen by Chuk. Suddenly, the Crimson Dragon appeared right before Emilia. The students panicked when warned that this dragon was incredibly powerful. To protect her students from death, Emilia risked everything to lure the dragon away. The others refused to run, pride binding them. They believed fleeing meant losing everything. They even prepared to use magic to end their own lives. Emilia attacked them to stop their foolishness and dragged the dragon far away. Memories of her painful past resurfaced fear that once made her run instead of face reality. Now, seeing her past selves, Emilia longed for change, for answers. After such a reckless act, the dragon swallowed her whole. The 3 students who had tried to help shouted for her not to give up. Even now, Emilia urged them not to act recklessly. In her final moments, she wanted to fulfill her duty as a teacher. They stubbornly refused to listen, but admitted Emilia was a good teacher. Before, no one had ever valued them like she did. They were thrown into a deadly trap without time to use magic. At this moment, only Emilia could act. Earlier, the students had been gathering energy. If Emilia could channel their combined feelings into magic, she might change the tide. Knowing she was recognized, Emilia's fighting spirit flared. She plunged into the dragon's belly to cast her spell. The 3 students were thrown aside, screaming in fear that their teacher would die. But Emilia was receiving Anis's gift help to harness magic, wrapping it around the dragon's veins and organs to destroy it from within. Its outer shell was unbreakable, but inside it was just like any living creature. After this ordeal, Emilia survived and was rescued by the 3 boys, who still cared deeply for her. She was overjoyed. Of course, Anos had been monitoring the situation and was pleased to see their teacher succeed. Later, back at the Demon King Academy, the warrior students caught the rare dragon and were full of admiration. Just then, the principal arrived with urgent news. A horde of dragons was heading their way. He ordered the students to become a living shield to protect the kingdom. Before he finished, Anos and his group arrived at the dragon's location to act as the first line of defense. "Who gave you the right to send kids to their deaths?" someone growled. 2,000 years ago, the human royal family had fought dragons fiercely. Now, sending students as meat shields seemed cruel but inevitable. If this continued, the dragon capital might be destroyed, so the human faction students asked Emilia to lead. Though treated harshly, at least they wanted to protect their homeland. Emilia vowed the warrior students would hunt the dragons and refuse demon faction involvement. If the demons had power, things would be simpler, but this was about honor and their last pride. With this resolve, as guests at the Demon King Academy, they promised to stay out of the fight until the end. Jessia and Eleanor would join the campaign since they were locals. Anos wasn't worried, and took the two elsewhere to investigate the conspiracy behind all this. Emilia immediately sent the students ahead by water routes, knowing holy water would speed their travel and keep them safe from the dragons. Emilia was the slowest, so the other two helped her. They'd learned from Anos how to quickly change clothes using magic swimsuits to move faster. They all gathered on an open plain, chosen as the front line to block the dragon horde from advancing deeper into the kingdom. They set up a sanctuary using all the students whom Emilia and her friends trusted, turning them into the class's ace cards. Emilia hesitated but agreed to lead immediately. A grand formation took shape, and everyone hid in the forest, awaiting her command. She shared her story with the students. She'd once been royalty, but was blinded by pride, believing her noble blood made her untouchable and causing terrible mistakes. The Demon King had exposed her flaws. She had run from many things before, but since arriving here, she no longer wanted to run, she wanted to fight, to protect the place she truly belonged. That place was with her students. Emilia inspired their fighting spirit, then led the full-scale counterattack against the foul dragon's clumsy flyers who didn't know how to flap wings properly but could still soar. Suddenly, they were ambushed. Several dragons fell, but the horde numbered in the hundreds. Beneath the ground, though not fully controlled yet, Misa was still possessed by the king's control. Darkness invaded her mind. Lai refused to use the divine spirit sword, believing his beloved Woodindurano god could steal their love. Soon, Misa was completely taken over, a new personality emerging. She asked Lai if she had changed completely, if he still loved her. Back on the surface, Jessia and Eleanor had slain dozens of rogue dragons, but the threat was far from over. The dragons now unleashed fire dragons to scorch everything, forcing Lai to seriously wield the sacred sea sword to extinguish the holy flames. Dragons could burrow, so some attacked from underground. Eleanor cast magic to support the group, creating spheres that boosted everyone's power for a few seconds, tailored to each person. Lai heard this and lunged forward, boosting his strength to fight a dragon together. Their protective barrier was slowly breaking under the dragon's relentless power. They fought to stop the dragon horde from advancing deeper into the kingdom. The sanctuary was activated along with all the students. Hyun, trusted by both teachers and friends, became the ace of the class. Though reluctant, he stepped up immediately. A magical formation took shape, and everyone hid in the forest, awaiting Emilia's signal. She shared her own story with the students. Once of royal blood, Emilia's pride was her downfall. Believing in the purity of her noble lineage, she made grave mistakes. The Demon King exposed those faults. She had run from many battles before, but here she no longer wished to flee. She wanted to stand and protect the place she belonged to her students. Emilia inspired them to fight, then led the charge. The wicked dragons, ugly and clumsy yet still flying, launched a sudden attack. A few fell, but the horde numbered in the hundreds underground. Though not fully controlled, Misa was captured by the king's influence. Her dark side took over as shadow crept into her mind. Despite everything, Lai refused to draw the spirit-human sword, believing his beloved Woodindurano god could steal their love. Misa, fully possessed and with a new persona, questioned Lai. If she had changed completely, would he still love her? Back on the surface, sisters Jessica and Eleanor had slain dozens of reckless dragons, but the threat persisted. The dragons unleashed fire to burn everything down, forcing Lai to seriously wield the sacred sea guard sword to extinguish the sacred flames. Some dragons burrowed underground, attacking from below. Eleanor cast supportive magic, creating spheres that amplified everyone's strength for precious seconds each, tailored to their unique style. Lai grabbed one, boosting his physical power, charging to duel a dragon. The group's barrier was slowly breaking under the dragon's overwhelming might, forces not to be underestimated. Emilia stood firm despite the danger, but Lai pushed her away to bear the brunt himself. Though invisible below, the group releasing the dragons was caught by Anos, who swiftly eliminated them. These were dragonkin obeying Ahit's order, the need for a truth-binding ring. Learning the mastermind lurked underground, Anos questioned the so-called sacred rite Ahit preached, a ritual to return to the gods through the dragon's path, becoming a divine entity. Ahit aimed to transform all surface humans into dragonkin to serve the divine. Misa was tasked with wiping out the remaining enemies to prevent surface chaos, while Anos set out to confront Ahit directly. Two wives fused into a divine being, rivaling an immortal god through the Eye of Creation and the Eye of Destruction. Their power was overwhelming, deflecting all enemy attacks. The situation was dire, pushing the teacher to urge Hyun to speed up. He had constructed 90 magic formations. But the dragons weren't fools, they charged to disrupt the plan. Gia and Eleanor poured all their strength into halting the dragon fury. Little M unleashed thousands of swords in a brilliant combo that felled a mutated dragon. Yet others remained, forcing the battle to continue. Haya completed the formation but hadn't yet put it into full effect. But the dragon horde wasn't foolish. They surged forward to disrupt the plan. Gia and Eleanor had to unleash their full power to contain the fury of the young dragon, who summoned thousands of swords to strike. This perfect combination eliminated one mutated dragon, yet several more remained, so the battle pressed on. Haya finished the formation, but before it could activate, Emilia rushed in to save him but was blasted away by another dragon. Laos arrived with flames to free his friend, but it was too late. Haya was petrified. Forced beyond his limits, Hyun pushed himself to save everyone, refusing to let the teacher's and friends' hopes fade. He activated the holy water formation, but after completing it, was devoured by the dragon. Even in his last breaths, he didn't miss a beat, finishing what he started. Thanks to him, the dragons were wiped out in a single strike, though the cost was immense. Anos finally tracked down Ahit and demanded if this entire plan was his alone. Ahit claimed this was salvation, answering the human king's prayers, and was supremely confident it would succeed. He explained that with Misa under control and the champion's soul in hand, their plan was unstoppable. Anos couldn't accept a man with that outdated hairstyle running the show, so he showed Ahit how his plan would utterly collapse. Indeed, Misa's mind was controlled, but her heart still belonged to Lei. He praised her charm and said as long as Misa remained herself, his love would endure. At that moment, her heart triumphed over reason, and the dark guardian within her was annihilated by Misa's ultimate form, leaving the king stunned and cornered. In desperation, Ahit merged with the dragon god by feeding it the dragon king's flesh, birthing a new monstrous being. But Lei heard a cry for help from the man's daughter, and without hesitation, wielded the spirit sword to sever their fate. Misa thought it was a trap, but Lei was a true warrior. Ignoring cries for help was not in his nature. After rescuing the girl, the sword was taken by the royal faction, blinded by divine madness. Lei was forced to use a weaker blade, yet the Dragon King pressed on with the stolen sword. Lei praised Misa's charm and assured her that as long as she was herself, his love would endure. His heart won over reason. The dark shadow inside her was destroyed by Misa's ultimate form, leaving the king stunned and cornered. He merged with the dragon god by feeding it the Dragon King's flesh, a terrifying new entity born. But Lei heard a desperate cry from the king's daughter. Without hesitation, Lei drew the spirit-human sword and severed their fate, rescuing her. Misa suspected a trap, but Lei was no one to ignore a call for help. After saving the girl, the sword was stolen by the royal family, who had been blinded by divine madness. Lei had to resort to another, weaker blade. The Dragon King continued his assault with the stolen sword until Misa intervened. Everything had changed. Their love's strength could overcome any obstacle. For a hero like Lei, the sword was just a stick. Love mattered more. Together, they sent the Dragon King and his rotten ambitions to ruin. Ahit, shocked by this unexpected defeat despite having the sword, revealed a new plan, commanding the god Akana to use the constructed moon to annihilate the demon tribe. This shocked Anos, who questioned whether Akana wanted destruction or salvation. She didn't seem like a god bent on ruin. Ahit interrupted the conversation but was blasted away by men. Anos promised that if Akana didn't want destruction, she would protect her. Akana agreed, but still had to obey Ahit, treating him as an enemy. Even unafraid of gods, Anos wielded the divine execution sword in a spectacular fight, severing one source of Akana's power. As Akana recovered, her power was shattered again, forcing her to retreat. Anos attacked the villain, but men appeared with the spirit-human sword, protected by divine blessing, making her immortal. The enemy then shifted focus to defeat Anos at all costs. Using two sacred swords, he forged an almighty blade. Akana vowed that while this sword existed, Ahit's followers would remain safe. To destroy it, one must pull the blade and strike him. Returning alongside the spirit of the sacred sword, protected by Art's blessing, she was truly immortal. Because of this, he shifted his target, intent on defeating Anos no matter what. Then, wielding divine power, he forged 2 sacred blades to create the almighty sword. Akana swore that as long as this sword existed, Art's followers would be unharmed. But to destroy the sword, one had to draw it and strike him. However, drawing the sword would unravel the very essence of that being past, present, and future alike. Pulling it meant certain death. Thus, Art was considered immortal. Still, Anos's power completely overwhelmed him. He blocked attacks effortlessly but could not kill the foe. Every time he took damage, his body healed instantly. Anos summoned a mysterious meteor, but Art froze it entirely. Seizing the moment when Art wasn't paying attention, Anos slipped a cursed nightmare ring onto him, but it had no effect. The madman then unleashed dark sacrificial dragon magic to boost his power, defying Akana's principles, but she was powerless, so she had to obey him. Anos urged her not to follow that path, reminding her of her quest to find the Almighty One who could create a sword no one could draw. "I already have that answer," Anos declared, wanting to reveal it to her. Suddenly, Art launched a brutal assault, piercing Anos's heart with overwhelming force. It seemed like victory until a fiery truth burned through the heart he took was the almighty sword itself. He had drawn it, dooming his own existence. This meant the Almighty would cease to exist, erased from past, present, and future. Consider him the Almighty, yet the Almighty becomes nothing. No one can draw the sword of the Almighty, so no one truly holds that title. Recognizing this is the divine trial. Akana explained that even gods are not truly almighty. Only those who grasp this truth can become the god's true representative. Art, terrified, feared his own obliteration, but no, the sword was a fake Anos created to scare him, and just like that, he was trembling in fear, a pathetic sight. Anos's answer to Akana was that the Almighty exists, satisfying her curiosity, but that was only her answer. The young man sought proof for himself to become the almighty demon king. After calming down, 8 wanted to keep fighting. He thought himself invincible, but met a bitter end as Anos unexpectedly severed both his arms. Shocked, he questioned Akana. "I thought you could only hurt me if the sword was destroyed?" Anos's technique defied Akana's understanding. He wielded the sword within its sheath to strike, breaking the rules of the Almighty. The prior oath demanded the sword be drawn to strike, but Anos's unique method was like drawing it without removing it. This enraged Art, who regretted crossing the almighty Demon King. After 3 decisive strikes, the villain was drained and reverted to his original state. Anos explained that the Almighty, who forges an undrawable sword, is doomed if they draw it themselves. It's their failure. If they cannot draw it, they aren't truly almighty. So Anos's approach of striking with the sheathed sword broke the usual laws of the Almighty. Art was utterly confused, unable to grasp these concepts. The Almighty is bound by no rules, and Anos alone understands this. Others are simply not worthy. Now that Art lost his immortality, Anos slipped the cursed nightmare ring on him, trapping him in eternal dreams where he witnessed his betrayal by the gods. To escape, he must abandon faith in the gods, losing his title as their messenger. Akana would gain freedom, while Art must serve as the cardinal, spreading goodwill without killing. If he completes this 1,000 times and renounces faith, the nightmare vanishes. Anos's brilliant solution earned Akana's respect. She withdrew her ring, wanting him to kill her and restore balance, but he refused. "I am the Almighty. If so, the world's order can change any time." Akana conceded that Anos was truly worthy to represent the godser, being surpassing even deities. Art recovered his limbs after abandoning faith in the gods, but pretended otherwise to escape the nightmare's grasp. He still tried commanding Akana, but she refused. Only someone like Anos, the true Almighty, was fit to become the god's representative. Meanwhile, Art was relegated to a mere follower, tasked with spreading Anos's teachings. Hearing this, Art lost his mind and retreated to his rightful place. As for becoming the god's representative, Anos wanted no such title. He was already perfect as he was. Yet, he sought to redeem Akana's soul after her past mistakes. This time, he wished for her to pursue her own desires. First on her list, abolishing the divine trials, which he found absurd. The sacred rings atop still held mighty gods, but Anos was confident he could face them. He wanted Akana to become his god, and together they would shatter the god's laws and trials. The next day, he returned to the Hero Academy and met Amelia, who played a crucial role and risked herself in recent events. As a demon, she cared little for human affairs. She claimed to be a teacher who learned to reject racial prejudice, seeing the dragon repulsion as her duty. From now on, this country could rise from the mire created by the royal family's past. As promised, Anos allowed Amelia to reclaim her status as an equal-ranked demon. 3 students pleaded for her to stay as their teacher, but she declined. She felt unworthy to sit among the top demons, and believed staying to teach was best. Just then, the principal, proclaiming himself the new king, arrived to assert dominance but was immediately arrested for treason. Akana revealed his crimes and collusion with art to the entire kingdom. With no principal at the Hero Academy, Anos appointed Emilia as the new headmaster. This marked a new chapter, where justice and redemption intertwine, showing that true strength lies not just in power, but in the courage to change and protect what matters most. Becoming the principal brought joy to everyone. The exchange program between the two academies came to an end. Anos returned to his child form and was told by his teacher that next time, when he visits the demon clan, they would meet again to share their feelings. But today, Anos had a dream his little sister was being chased like a helpless dog by an earth dragon. At the critical moment, our hero appeared to save this poor girl. It was known that at that time, Anos was constantly hunted by dragons. Because of this, his little sister got caught up in the chaos. The two siblings had no place to rest, moving constantly to avoid harming innocent people. The little sister loved her brother deeply, so even when chased and attacked by dragons, she bravely said she wasn't afraid as long as she was by his side. They lived in an abandoned house in the forest, and when Anos brought her home, the young man suddenly woke up. Akana was sleeping soundly beside him. And even without clothes? He wondered when she had snuck in. It turned out she came in last night after he fell asleep. At that moment, two other wives walked in, catching this awkward scene and feeling jealous. Akana explained it was her choice, not Anos's. Zaza thought she was taking advantage of Anos's kindness by living with him, and even betraying him when he was exhausted. But Akana wasn't good at words, and didn't dare confess she also loved him. Misa asked Akana what she was doing, and she said she was trying to recover Anos's lost memories, nothing else. It was known that since reincarnation, Anos had forgotten some fragments of his past. Akana possessed the laws of the memory god guardian of dreams. Linaraso, she intervened. Zaza was curious if helping him really required such intimacy. Akana used the excuse that it made their bond easier and blessings easier to receive. Besides, Akana herself had forgotten her real name after becoming a god, which puzzled Anos deeply because the little sister in his dream was also named Akana. Their parents then walked in, shocked to see their not yet 1-year-old son sleeping with a girl. The mother was okay with it, but the father forbade such behavior. The mother tried to deceive her husband, saying the girl wasn't naked but wearing invisible clothes. The father tried to convince himself this wasn't true. Akana reassured the parents that her divine body was sacred, and even if she slept with the demon king, it would be harmless. Later, after Akana dressed, Anos spoke about his childhood dream he had lived with a little sister, which was surprising because he actually had no such sibling. 2,000 years ago, this young man didn't know his parents, only that his mother had died at his birth. No way, Dad won't allow this here. She tried to fool her husband, insisting the child wasn't naked but wore invisible clothes. The father, desperate to deny reality, clung to this lie. Akana reassured her parents. The divine body was sacred sleeping, with the demon king was no problem. Later, once Akana wore Anos's clothes, he spoke of a childhood dream about living with a younger sister, a surprise, since he had none. 2,000 years ago, this young man had no knowledge of his parents. His mother died at birth. So where did this sister come from? Clearly, she wasn't blood-related. Setting aside the dream, men wanted to discuss the two sisters. As known before, the Dragonkin called her. The rebellious god Genen-Un, uncertain of his own truth, seeks confirmationis this reality or illusion. From afar, the nature of this defiant deity remains a mystery. Akana reveals that this is the very first god to stand against the holy divine beings. His power? The irregular demon iron ability that nullifies all magic and reconstructs any object. Anos wants Akana to witness this firsthand, hoping it might stir forgotten memories. Immediately, she enters her ultimate state, activating the demon eye and radiating a familiar power that sparks something deep in Akana's mind, though the true name slips just beyond reach. It's as if she recognized this power before but forgot her own true identity. In other words, this fusion form of Misa and Sasa is the embodiment of the irregular god himself. Anos calls this girl, born from their union, Aathi, wielder of the destructive and reconstructive demon eye. Or perhaps it's the irregular demon eye of that ancient god. Legend says the irregular god, to oppose the holy deities, reincarnated as a subordinate to the ruthless demon lord. The demon eye was split in two to avoid detection by the divine. So it turns out their past lives were once a god. Yet, these sisters feel no impression or memory of this truth. Perhaps their memories were stolen, much like Anos's. When reincarnated, crucial fragments of their past might have been taken. Maybe Akana herself is reincarnated, which explains her forgotten true name. Usually, gods retain their divinity after reincarnation, but the irregular god might be the exception, as his name suggests. Anos hypothesizes that 2,000 years ago. This case is similar to Anos's. When they reincarnated, that fragment of memory might have been taken away. Perhaps Akana herself is reincarnated, which is why she forgot her true name. Usually, a god remains a god after reincarnation, but without a heart. Yet the absurd god could be an exception after all. The name absurd says it all. He hypothesizes that 2,000 years ago, they all met somewhere. Remember the last time, when they arrived at the city beneath? Misa felt an uncanny familiarity, as if Anos had brought her there before. After reincarnation, their memories were stolen, but they had known each other before. Someone capable of stealing memories from these people is truly rare. However, Anos has a way to find this thief. He can trace through memories and uncover the truth. According to the rules of Akana's dream protector, there exists someone who controls memories far better than she does, a god who holds the record of the world's history, the deity of divine archives, Levasnet. It's said this god dwells in the divine dragon kingdom. Anos also considered going there and, by the way, destroying the selection judgment. Akana wants to destroy the selection judgment, which was created by its own rules, so they must defeat the god of the selection judgment. Yet no one has ever met this god, not even other gods. Maybe it's a law, not a god. The question is, how can a law enforce itself without any figure? Those underground say, this is the sacred spirit Aquest, with infinite power. All gods serve Aquest, and the selection judgment is a rule set by Aquest. That's why they can't see it. Or maybe it never had a real form, it's just a symbol created by the dragon tribe. The so-called sacred spirit with infinite power might just be a rumor, a legend, maybe real, maybe not. Theoretically, only such power could erase memories of everyone here. Now everything starts to make sense. They'll have to go there to see for themselves. Zaza is worried. If that entity exists, it can wield all the gods' power, and to fight it would be like fighting the world itself. Anos isn't fazed he'd even destroy the world if he had to. The two girls think it sounds too cruel, but for now, they must take a few days off school to search for the enemy. Anos has a better idea. He wants to hold a special lesson. So that very day, the legendary teacher announced a special training session. Demon Lord Anos would appear as the instructor. The friends, who once mocked him, now fear whether he'll take revenge or not. Instead, he teases them by saying he never forgets anything learned here. Misa steps up to explain the lesson. First, they talk about the underground world of the dragon Tribethi, ones who attacked before. Since they fought before, they'll pay a visit to the dragon kingdom to study. It's still unknown if they'll have to fight the dragon tribe or not, so no need to rush. They must decide their own stance. Anos warns he can't promise to revive everyone who died. So this lesson is a challenge for the girls in his fangirl club, who excitedly see it as an indirect field trip. The next day, they set off. Of course, Anos trains them all day before the trip. He uses magic to transmit power to each of them, helping them glimpse their future selves. Suddenly, better versions of themselves appear. The mission: defeat these future selves to become stronger. Usually, perfect copies don't share the original's thoughts, but since he's the Demon Lord, anything's possible. The clones start talking exactly like the originals. Ram, the original, is even strangled by his perfect self. What a wild ride. Even if they die, they revive instantly as usual, so they fight without holding back until stronger than their clones. Nia sees her confident future self and feels insecure about her present self. The legendary teacher shows wisdom, asking if she wants to stay or go, and tells the story of a demon with zero power in the Demon Lord Academy entrance exam. That demon became an outcast, despised by the entire academy. Sounds familiar, right? Because that's Anis's story. Nia says it's their mistake in measuring, and the teacher's message is that Nia is also underestimating herself. She's actually very strong, and if she realizes this, she'll become a better version of herself. Hearing this, she gains confidence, and is even awarded the Staff of Knowledge by the Demon King to unlock her infinite potential. Seeing this, Anos is happy. The group asks why they don't have better versions of themselves. It's because everyone's current strength is already overwhelming. Even he can't create equal clones. If he could, he'd flood the battlefield with clones and become unbeatable. Anos prepares someone else for training, a perfect match: Akana. Soon, they'll head underground and surely fight a god. Who better to train them than another god? Misa and Sasa will learn from Akana, while Eleno and Jessia will train each other. Meanwhile, Lai and Misa will be trained in love magic. Last time, they fought the Dragon King using this magic, which existed before all gods. If they master love's power, it's a win-win, intimacy and strength combined. Seeing this, Anos smiles, pleased. His friends approach, asking if there's a stronger version. It makes sense, their current power is already overwhelming. Even Anos can't craft a clone equal to them. If he could, he'd flood the battlefield with undefeatable copies. So he prepares someone better suited to train them. That someone is none other than Akana. Soon they'll descend to the surface and face the gods in battle. Who better than another god to train them? Misa and Sasa will be guided by her, while Eleno and Jessia will train each other. Meanwhile, Lai and Misa will hone their magic of love. In their previous fight against the Dragon King, that magic was revealed an ancient force present before all gods. Mastering love's power brings not just closeness but unstoppable strength. The couple is stunned that Anos can wield this magic with his father. Trust is the key. Only those with absolute trust can channel such limitless love. This battle will let them experience love's infinite colors. Then Misa confesses her love to Lai and activates their AS forms. Father-in-law and son-in-law clash, fueled by a love granted by the fierce demon lord himself. Their fight isn't just blade, it's a conversation of power and emotion. To win means to speak the father's truths about his daughter. But the old man refuses to listen, swinging relentlessly, wearing Lai down with the vast gap in their strength. Anos calls this a love born from absolute trust. Lai faces the harsh reality of being blocked by his father-in-law from his love, his core being shattered again and again. Luckily he has 7 cores, otherwise he'd be done for. Just now, Anos activated his AS by blending love and hate, a paradox that feels utterly surreal. Yet in this world, emotions intertwine to forge power beyond logic. If you've ever felt torn between passion and pain, take a moment to reflect what fuels your own strength. In love, hatred often lurks just beneath the surface. The line between the two is razor thin. Anos, ever the cunning master, exploited this delicate balance to forge an unbeatable skill. Shin, perfectly suited for this power, channels it with deadly precision. The love Anos holds for his daughter burns as fiercely as the hatred he harbors for that pathetic son-in-law. Shin realizes this and boldly asks for a bit more of Misa's love because without it, things might spiral into the ultimate dark form alongside him, to break through the barriers set by her father. But their strike was blocked. The father wanted them to see their love as childish nonsense. The two teased their mum behind the scenes, distracting him, but that moment gave them enough strength to push back his power. Anos joined the fray, and with fresh love from the young couple, they completely turned the tide. By day's end, everyone wondered where little Anos was. He said he was training invisibility magic. Then, he introduced the goddess Akana to the group. She would guide them underground aboard dragons. The Demon King's class soared on dragonback into the Earth's depths, approaching Jordan's territory. Excitement buzzed, but Zaza worried about the enemies who had attacked, and would they strike here too? Akana dismissed the fear, explaining that previous battles were driven by a rogue named Ahit. The Dragonkin here weren't enemies, they opposed Jordan's teachings but had not allied with humans. Ahit had stolen something and handed it to the human king, making things complicated. Anos's real enemies were the ruling powers, including the Pope, a chosen divine warrior. To uncover their memories, the group would need to seek out this Pope. Approaching the city openly promised more safety than sneaking in. Suddenly, they heard the majestic song of the divine Dragona sound that had echoed since the kingdom's founding. Only the Pope and those bound by sacred oaths could see these dragons. Just as the dragon landed, a massive rumble erupted above. Cracks appeared across the sky. The very ceiling of the Dragonkin's world, known as the Heavenly Seal, was shifting. If left unchecked, the earth below might be crushed. But Akana assured them that invisible pillars, created by the gods, would hold it at bay. These pillars of order were unseen by regular folk. In short, everything was safe, no need to worry. Akana then briefed the students on this land, ruled by the Jordan Church. Its members were priests or holy knights serving the faith. Meanwhile, Anos's fan club heard strange noises and, curious, decided to investigate, seeing it as a chance to learn more. They agreed to split up and pursue their own interests. Elm and her prize student Nia headed to a small church branch to register. Anos, ever curious, sensed that the priests here could summon dragons and gods. Nia worried about disturbing the powerful teacher, but he approved. He clearly valued her. When they knocked on the church door, a welcoming figure greeted them. Elm wasted no time stepping inside, ready to dive deeper into this mysterious faith and its secrets. The heart of the matter? Nia's sudden wish to join the church alongside this girl left everyone stunned. The rules here were ironclad, yet outsiders could join if they were ready to walk the thorny path. And the Death King was curious about that very path, so he was all in. Once Nia arrived, refusal wasn't an option, and the headmaster gave the nod. Seeing the pair accepted, they even roped in a few wives for company. Already familiar with the grandfather's questions, Nia barely let them finish before choosing their path like a blade descending into hell. The result? The whole group was welcomed in. Spotting the Demon King entering, Nia's eyebrows rose in surprise. Elm guessed it was just fear of mischief that made him tag along to watch whatever, let it be. The legendary teacher then introduced the Demon King's world, giving the overseers a glimpse, while Anos shared about his own land, something completely unknown here. Clearly, fate's hand guided them safely to this moment. The initiation ritual began with the sacred pearl, simple yet profound. Anyone who could grasp the ring without it burning was deemed worthy. Next, summoning a dragon using the pearl to prove membership in the church. Legend said only 1 in 500 succeeded at this feat. Right after hearing this, everyone grabbed a ring and called forth their Dragonsa miracle that left the overseers speechless. Even Dog Vui lingered in the back, while Nia summoned a dragon that came to him instead. Don't be fooled by its small, goofy look, this beast devours rival dragons whole. This madness drew Elm's curiosity, who asked if it liked eating demons. The creature barely licked and dismissed the taste. The Death King wanted to try summoning a divine spirit, next a feat usually reserved for true believers, but his path was different. Thanks to Anos's magic, they knew the ritual to call forth a god. Elm, lacking the believer's memories, had to summon differently. Anos pierced the teacher's chest and took his heart, transforming Elm into a divine form indistinguishable from the chosen warriors known as the 8 divine candidates. It was said he had once stolen power from a god, granting him this demigod state. The teacher even summoned 4 gods for all to witness these guardians of morality. Elm wanted Nea to try making a sacred contract with the gods. But seeing one of them was terrifying, Nea hesitated. The Death King reassured her these were his children, and she was his brightest pupil, worthy of forming a bond with them. When she tried, not one but all 4 gods connected to her within a single pearler phenomenon never before seen. This revealed Nea's limitless potential. If her body was a vessel, then it was a bottomless reservoir, capable of holding all 4 gods without overflow. The teacher proposed making a divine covenant with Nea, fulfilling her wishes much like Akana's pact with Anos. This would make the divine order hers to command, nullifying even Z's prior agreement with men. The teacher could oppose Anos without fear of heart failure, yet Elm had no intention of training the student to oppose the Demon King. He asked Nea how she felt about the Death King. To her, the teacher was formidable yet kind. With him by her side, she believed she could be a true asset to the demon race. Anos was pleased and told Nea, "If you owe the teacher, repay him by growing stronger." Hearing this, the girl's smile blossomed, and the teacher's heart swelled, knowing his pupil's feelings. He vowed to wholeheartedly support the Demon King's wishes. To forge the contract, Nea had to wish for something from her gods. She wished the teacher would forever remain her mentor and sealed the pact. The overseer, watching these dazzling displays of magic, was awestruck. Elm urged them not to kneel before her, since they were serving the Demon King himself. Usually, gods outrank kings, but according to the Death King's view, their Demon King stood above even the gods fitting, as he had just summoned the Celestial Order. One observer saw Anos as the omnipotent Equest, a title Akana had mentioned before. Nea clarified she wasn't that. She was here only to meet the Pope. He promised to report back, and was eager to meet such great beings. The story then shifted to a foolish heretic who fell into darkness, opposing faith in this land, none other than Ahit. He blasphemed the gods and denied Equest's existence. In truth, this heresy stemmed from Anos planting doubt deep in Ahit's mind. Now, tasked with capturing the heretic, the observer agreed to bring Ahit as a trophy to the church. Meanwhile, Fang's faction was elsewhere, learning songs from locals whose voices rivaled Alina's. Their teacher lamented missing the chance to join the sacred song ritual the pilgrims offering to the gods. Back with Anos, he transformed his castle to host his sisters overnight. He ushered Akana into the bridal chamber. Drawing from memories gathered earlier, he recreated the home where he lived with his sister in a dream. Akana felt an eerie familiarity. Anos revealed his sister's name was Akana too, surprising her. He guessed she was the sister who lost her memories just like others here. Akana agreed to reclaim those memories, then pinned Anos down to do what needed doing. Their fleeting memories hovered between them like fragile threads. If real, they could restore the bond between distant siblings. Suddenly, others burst in, catching the fallen divine in the act. Actually, she was jealous that Akana could sleep with Anos so easily. The girl protested, saying this was the best way to reclaim memories. And then, denying the very existence of the all-powerful Equest, the reason behind this denial is rooted in Anos's prior planting of doubt in the heretic's mind never to trust the gods. Now, tasked with eliminating this heretic, the man agrees, promising to capture Ahit as a gift for the Pope. Meanwhile, Fang's faction is elsewhere, honing their singing skills with locals in this land. Their voices have grown so powerful that even Alina, their teacher, feels a pang of regret, wishing they had arrived sooner to partake in this land's sacred pilgrimage song. This ritual calls for pilgrims from afar to offer a song to the gods. At that moment, Anos transforms his castle, providing a place for the sisters to rest overnight. Akana finds herself led into the bridal chamber, and relying on memories collected before, he recreates the entire home where he once lived with his sister. In the dream, Akana feels an eerie familiarity about the place. Anos reveals that the girl's name is Akana, surprising her. He suspects she might truly be his sister, just like those others who lost their memories. She agrees to reclaim those forgotten memories, then pins Anos down to get the job done. Their memories hover between them if real. They might piece together the past she lost. Suddenly, their older sisters burst in, catching the scene and stopping the younger girl from doing anything terrible to Anos. Truth be told, she's jealous because Akana can sleep beside him like that. The other girl protests, saying this is the best way to regain memories. Anos, unfazed, says it's no big deal just sharing a bed. If they want, both sisters could join in, making it a group effort to recover lost memories while keeping a close eye on things. Misa's on board and even invites her elder sister along, though she feels a bit shy. Soon, the three girls settle beside Akana, performing a ritual to send them all into Anos's dream. Somehow, their clothes vanish, but nothing can stop them from entering the dreamscape. Inside, Akana recalls times when dragon-like hunters saw her as a sacrifice, all because little Anos had kidnapped her, sparking the dragon's rampage. Anos directly confronts the threat with fiery magic, but Akana shows a flicker of fear, though she insists she's not afraid if it means staying close to her brother. Usually, after eating, Anos reads stories to this adorable sister, though she's heard the tale of the unlucky lying girl countless times. She still treasures each retelling. The next day, they wake up but can't uncover more from the dream except that dragon-like beings existed 2,000 years ago. For the two sisters, it's strange they only glimpse adorable childhood moments of Anos, never his sister. Later, after class, the Demon King's choir participates in the dragon ritual, when suddenly the heretic Ahit appears to disrupt everything. Panic spreads at Ahit's arrival and his bold declarations. The divine song is just a fantasy dreamed up by the early, Popate's not real, not what everyone believes. That's why their sacred melody can't reach this place. The followers below don't waver from his words. Elena asks Ahit about their divine singer, only to realize he's been deceiving them all along. There was never a singer here to perform for them. As Ahit reveals this truth, the situation spirals. Without their singer, everything could fall apart. Ahit hopes the nightmare inside Anos will finally end, but nothing happens. Elena stabs him, only to find out it's a mere clone he created. When it's captured, it dissolves like smoke. The real problem? Their followers can no longer send the sacred melody to the gods. Elena thinks there might still be hope. They have the Demon King's choir here. She asks Ellen, the best singer she's ever met, to dedicate her song to the gods, not necessarily the dragonfolk's hymn. Elena wants Ellen to sing the song their group feels strongest about. Anos also encourages them, curious to see how far their voices can echo in this realm. With his blessing, the sisters decide to sing a new song about the Demon King's desire for peace. The followers below can only hope for a miracle. The Demon King's choir steps forward, sharing tales of a land far away, their homeland, ruled by a Demon King who sent them here to learn. Everyone realizes these people cherish music deeply. In return, they offer to sing their country's anthem to the music lovers here. The song's lyrics also speak of the gods, which reassures the followers below that all will be well. Ellen's song carries a fresh spirit, surprising the crowd into awe. The Demon King's choir sings, revealing their distant homeland and their lord who sent them to learn here. Everyone realizes the locals cherish music deeply. To honor this, they offer a song from their country to the music-loving friends gathered there, a melody that also praises the gods. The new style of the Ellen Group's song surprises the crowd. Its freshness leaves the devotees speechless. From within, Anos watches with satisfaction as this song about him echoes far and wide. The lyrics convey joy, which some below find slightly irreverent towards the gods. The final judgment falls to the 8 wise singers, masters of music who debate whether such a song fits their sacred ritual. They discover the word quich in the Ellen song carries deep joy, a rare ancient term. This revelation unlocks a forbidden musical door they had long hesitated to open, deciding this song will be this year's pilgrimage song. From then on, everyone sings along, filling the land with vibrant colors. Elsewhere, Anos tracks Ahit's trail, only to be tricked repeatedly by decoys made of earthwell, not quite as glamorous as expected. A member of the 8 wise singers hums along to Ellen's song, clearly moved, and invites them to visit his realm. Akana warns men to be cautious. The man is powerful. He introduces himself as the King of Agatha, one of the 3 great nations in this territory. Agatha is known as a formidable force. At this moment, one of the 8 divine selectors hummed Ellen's song as he approached, seemingly moved deep within his heart. He invited men to bring the group to his place next time. Akana warned men to be cautious. This man was incredibly powerful. He introduced himself as King Agath of Agatha, one of the three great nations in this realm. Agath was a true man's man. Though he saw Anos as a rival, there was no disdainingly a desire for an honorable battle in the sacred arena. Seeing Agath's refreshing spirit, Anos agreed, but said he needed to settle the Ahit problem first, so their duel would be postponed. Agath accepted, as he too sought to settle his score with Ahit, who had stolen the Dragon King from his land. He had sent envoys to the Pope here before, but received no reply. So today he came in person to clarify matters. Meeting Anos here was fortunate, for Agath's god possessed the power of precognitionable to guide his envoy on the right path. Meeting men here was also good news. A brief introduction revealed this was Nata, the god of the future. The young man understood that meeting him meant the Pope would be reachable. There was another prophecy for Anos, the true god of traces, was about to appear in the sacred dragon sanctuary. Using precognition, Agath easily captured the original Ahit in hiding. Anos had to admit, seeing the future like this was truly top tier. Together, they would realize the remaining Prophesito meet the Pope. Anos wondered how Agath's god could foresee yet let Ahit steal the Dragon King. Agath explained that while precognition was real, he refused to abuse it, only using it to prevent disasters for his nation. Asked how far his foresight reached, Agath answered, "Very far, even to the end of this realm." Gonroana, the supreme pope here, was also one of the 8 divine selectors. The two men brought Ahit before Gonroana to seek judgment for Ahit's crime stealing the Dragon King from another country. The Pope was aware Agath wanted proof that Ahit no longer had ties to Jordan. Otherwise, this would ignite war between nations. The madman Ahit declared that gods were false before the Pope, but vanished when Main's nightmare struck him. Yet, nothing happened. The Pope didn't know what magic affected him. This was reality. Gods and the omnipotent, yes, truly existed. Ahit's words were rejected, so the nightmare lingered. True believers, no matter the nightmare, must continue faith in God's son like Ahit, who was no longer protected by his country. Agath planned to make Ahit a sacrifice for stealing the Dragon King. Yet, the king demanded one more condition, the sacred scripture passed down through the popes. Gonroana couldn't comply. This scripture saved believers, and if revealed, who could be saved? Hearing this, Agath relented, instead asking to open the grand sacred gate here for the 8 divine selectors to battle. The Pope agreed. When asked why an unlikely figure like Anos was here, he openly stated 2 reasons: the selection trial and the resting place of the god of traces. The gods told him only one path would lead to meeting the Pope. Anos felt sympathy for his friend since today was his own destined day. Agath wasn't sure which duel would decide who could meet the Pope. The prophecy would reveal the outcome, but he preferred battle over fate. Both would face the other's god, the winner would gain entry. He urged Akana to fight with all her strength. Her opponent was formidable. The future god predicted that when she opened her eyes, men would lose, and the worst day would come. She received a contrary prophecy. The moment she opened, her eyes would seal the other's defeat. Akana created a construct moon to freeze her opponent, but it was useless. She absorbed magic, making her attacks nearly ineffective. This man was the Azure Dragon, born from the dragon itself, inheriting overwhelming power. The battle began. Nata wielded a prophetic orb, piercing the Demon King's essence. She truly could see the future. Anos's inability to block the strike was planned, yet the future can always be changed. If one defies the world's laws, fate isn't fixed. She urged the girl to see beyond, for the Demon King's blood could taint her sacred artifact. They grew serious, agreeing that as long as she lived, Anos's future could change, cycles repeating endlessly, resetting to 0. Those rules didn't apply to him. Even the worst future she foresaw wouldn't scare him. He invited fate to challenge him. Suddenly, Main's body was pierced in many places, bleeding heavily, a rare sight. The worst outcome Nata warned about was unfolding. Her power was terrifying, but fear alone wasn't enough to defeat the Demon King. Men fired a cannon shot at the future god, trusting her prophecy that only one outcome existed here. She refused to believe it, unleashing a blast that shattered space and her opponent's body. Just as the prophecy said, when Nata opened her eyes, defeat was sealed. Opposing her, the moment she opens her eyes, seals the defeat of the other girl. Akana conjures a moon of creation, freezing her opponent, but it's useless. This man absorbs magic, rendering Akana's attacks nearly powerless. He is the Crimson Dragon, born directly from a dragon's essence, inheriting overwhelming strength. The battle begins as Napta wields the celestial orb, piercing the Demon King's core. Indeed, she can foresee the future. Anos's inability to block these strikes was all part of her plan, but how can this be? The future is not set in stone, it can still be changed. If someone defies the world's rules, as Anos does, then he urges the girl to look further, because the Demon King's blood could taint her sacred relic. They grow serious. affirming that as long as Anos exists, the future can be rewritten countless times and the altered fate will eventually tear itself apart. But those rules don't apply to Anos, who created a world that brought him the worst possible outcome. He fears no challenge and dares the future to test him. Suddenly, Main's body is pierced in many places, bleeding heavily. Rare vulnerability for her. This worst outcome Nam mentioned is truly terrifying. Her power is immense, but sheer strength alone won't be enough to fell a demon king like him. In response, Men fires a barrage of cannon shots at the future god, believing in her prophecy that only one outcome exists here. But Main's faith is shaken. Overwhelming power causes space itself to shatter alongside the future god's form. Just as Napta predicted, when Nam opened his eyes, it sealed his defeat, forcing him to concede. Slowly he fades away, but with Main's support, there will be no future where this defeat is reversed. Anos was defeated. This was the new prophecy she revealed. At this moment, Akana was also struck down and thrown here, yet she refused to give up. She tended to her wounds, though it took time since Agath had deeply harmed her essence. Despite this, he had lost, because the gods on this side had conceded first, but Akana still longed to fight. Being a man of integrity, he temporarily stepped back, letting men step in to meet the Pope, who promised to meet another day. He brought the singers to his place to play before leaving, and gifted Anos another prophecy that he favored. It revealed that the one who chose the wrong candidate as the divine selection was none other than the creator god, Militia. This was a stunning revelation. There was one more thing he warned men, that if they wanted to face Groana, they must annihilate it utterly, otherwise disaster would befall their land in the future. The young man understood, saying he knew what had to be done. The Pope welcomed them and spoke of what they sought. The trace god was sleeping in this country, but no one knew when it would awaken. If forcibly roused, who knew what catastrophe would strike? So, even though Groana allowed them to meet Anos, they wished for the god to accept the meeting willingly. To make that happen, the young man needed to reach that position. But this guy insisted on returning Akana. In short, they had already made a pact, and Akana agreed willingly, not stolen. Akana is the essential god for the world's rebirth, the creator god Militia of rebirth. This revelation came from Equest, the Almighty's message. It was clear from the start they had different views. Anos demanded that this guy swear never to touch his land and, of course, that wasn't going to happen unless it was through Min's path, or perhaps following Jordan's faith. Sounds interesting, but there was a deeper meaning. Ownership of the land would belong to him. Both were offers that couldn't be accepted, so a battle between them was inevitable. Naturally, Anos was always ready, but the Pope seemed reluctant to fight. Those men said they would keep praying until they saved the underworld, but if Anos wanted to fight, so be it, they'd continue praying regardless. Amused by this, Anos struck first, using the sound bind to trap the enemy. Seeing this, Gondwana didn't hold back either, and summoned his god, the divine selection, Dodir, a god of sound created from pure sound waves. After merging its power with fire, this divine force erased men's techniques, and even created a pleasant auditory effect. This was rare and fascinating, even catching the Demon King's interest. The Pope summoned 3 past popes back from the dead to fight with music. He asked if they intended to keep peace with Min, but their answer was a fierce attack. Akana formed an ice barrier to block sound from penetrating. The opponent kept amplifying their power through sound. The question arose, did these past popes truly dedicate everything to the divine? Anos sought to confirm this by pitting the hymns sung by his choir girls against the determination of the past popes. A battle of sound versus musicit was truly captivating. The clash created a mighty trumpet blast that pushed back the enemy's sound, starting a musical performance. Music is meant to be sung together, that's the joy of it. He contacted his Demon King choir to summon their love for him before the divine. So the sisters sang their hearts out to channel that power of love. Let's show them that the Demon King's hymn is higher than anything else in this world. Akana played the flute to open the performance. Gonroana's holy fire began to burn them, but barely 2 seconds passed before it was extinguished because the girls started singing. The music they created instantly affected the enemy's strength. Even the 3 popes summoned stopped attacking when they heard the lyrics. That song, Gonroana realized it was powerful enough to halt even the predecessors. Anos himself praised the sound, saying it wasn't bad, but mere prayers weren't enough to match the love the muses poured out. Drawing strength from them, Anos struck with a force that made the 3 pontiffs lose control and start singing along to the girl's melody. Soon after, they vanished, unable to be summoned again, leaving Gonroana stunned. This song felt like a critique from the 8 sages, unlocking a long-forbidden door. The pontiffs were awakened by the true yearning in the lyrics, losing all desire for their former goals. Every heart beats with newfound clarity. Anos then let this man feel the overwhelming power of music from within. Even Gonroana was blown away. Not even his god of music could endure it. Though struck down, this man's determination never wavered, still praying despite the blows, earning Anos's respect. Gonroana realized the words were true. Past pontiffs hadn't truly devoted everything to their gods, which led to their defeat. Anos then revealed the resting place of the divine scholar sleeping in the underworld ruins. To reach him, one must wait until midnight, under moonlight and the divine dragon's song. That door would lead them to the one they seek. Anos saw no need to kill this man. Their goal was to end the judgment selection. Gonroana ruled this kingdom peacefully, and killing him could tip everything into chaos. Though it had nothing to do with a demon lord on the surface, Anos cared deeply for the people. This baffled the pontiff. How could he destroy his own god and still speak with such concern? Arrogance, after all, is the privilege of the mighty. Anos believed that destroying an enemy kingdom wasn't enough. True peace was the ultimate aim. He wanted Gonroana untouched in his land, in exchange for keeping his faith in the divine. He sought a pact, but Gonroana, battered yet unyielding, refused to shake hands. "My hands were made only to pray," he said, "and faith is the only thing that can save us all in this harsh underworld." The pontiff believed that one day he too would extend a hand asking for help. He didn't force an answer, and if a challenge was desired, he was ready any time. That night, as they rested, Akana wondered why Anos sought peace yet spared this man. The prophecy from that friend was true, but Anos had made a vow long ago to prove to someone that this world was warm and full of love. Akana had always been alone, but belonging to Anos changed everything. She no longer felt lonely, now standing shoulder to shoulder with someone who shared her vision. She pondered what to call these feelings. Anos called it happiness. Meeting Anos had saved her life. He brushed off the small things he did for her as nothing. To save oneself, Akana knew she needed more resolve. She even dared to ask him to revisit her previous dream, curious what it would be like if she had a brother. Knowing Akana wished for a brother, Anos agreed to watch the dream together, and if he truly was her brother, Akana wanted to call him that. Soon, other girls joined in the joy, but the couple couldn't share one bed, it was too small, so the group used magic to float the entire room, creating a shared sleeping space. Then, the dream resumed, bringing them back to the siblings' everyday life in the forest. That day, Akana noticed her brother had received an invitation from the palace but burned it. Drawn by a cat, she met its owner, Celis. He already knew Akana's name and assured her he meant no harm. Curious, she asked who he was. Celis explained he had a favor to ask, to deliver a letter to Anos, who was destined to become king of this land. Yet Anos resisted this fate, so Celis hoped to help him realize what must be done. He promised a wish if Akana helped arrange the meeting. Akana longed to wield magic like her brother, to slay dragons in his stead. Celis revealed that her magic was sealed to prevent power from leaking out. He could break the seal and teach her how to defeat dragons, but first she had to bring Anos to him. For now, the dream paused. The next day, the group ventured to the area the pontiff had mentioned, seeking the path to the divine scholar. No ruins appeared around, but following the guidance, Akana created a moon to light the way. Suddenly, a vast ruin emerged before them. Accompanied by the arrival of others, Akana recognized them as the Nameless Knights, heretics who had once aided Ahit. It seemed they too sought the divine scholar. Conflict erupted. Misa chose to stay behind so the others could descend further. An unexpected attacker struck, but was swiftly eliminated by Anos, who even burned the attacker's body before death, a commendable act. Akana realized these foes were not dragon folk but demon folk, indicating they had arrived first. This cult worshipped the rebel god, and the divine scholar was among their targets. Deeper inside, an overwhelming magic caused unease. The opposition grew fiercer, determined to destroy the scholar before awakening. Jazem, who had been saved by Anos before but repaid with enmity, apologized. She warned Anos to leave, or the second heavier would appear. Anos didn't care. The battle erupted. Anos's girls quickly subdued the enemies, allowing the young couple to press onward. From a dream, they located the divine scholar's resting place. The deity appeared, introducing himself as Leva, the guardian of all memories and writings of this world. The path to meet the sage god showed no ruins around. Following Akana's guidance, he created a moon to shine light and reveal the way inside. Suddenly, a colossal ruin appeared before them, accompanied by the arrival of others. Akana had seen them before. They were the Nameless Knights, heretical warriors who aided Ahit. These foes seemed to target the sage god as well. So, battle erupted between the two sides. Misa chose to stay behind, letting the others proceed downward. An unexpected attacker struck but was swiftly defeated by Anos. Before dying, he even tried to burn Anos's body. Truly impressive. This moment made men realize these were not dragonkin but demonkin. It seemed they had arrived here earlier, worshipping the rebel god, with the sage god as one among them. Deeper inside, an overwhelming aura of magic made the group uneasy. Formidable opponents awaited. Then more adversaries appeared, blocking their path. They too sought to destroy the sage god before its awakening. Jazem asked if this was their purpose. She apologized for repaying kindness with enmity despite being saved by him last time. They warned Anos to leave or face the arrival of Avon Heavier II, who cared little for anything. And so, a fierce battle broke out. The girls on Anos's side quickly subdued the enemies, allowing the young man and Akana to press onward. Sister Zaxa and Misa stood confidently against two powerful foes, giving the pair a chance to find the sage god's dwelling. Through a dream, the god appeared, calling himself Lever. He revealed that all knowledge and memories of this world were under his care. When asked their purpose, Akana said they wished to restore forgotten memories. Liva replied that memories are pain, and forgetting is freedom. Why remember only to suffer again? Yet, if they accepted all and faced their past deeds, he would allow them to seek their memories. Before they could complete this, the Godola faction intervened. Anis knew and vowed to stop them so Akana could continue. With keen eyes, he quickly found the culprit. Upon pulling him up, they saw it was Celis. In the dream, Anos remembered nothing, but Celis claimed to be his father and captain of the Nameless Knights. Anos was stunned. Why did he have no memory of this? Celis revealed the creator god. The militia erased all memories of him from Min's mind, weaving a new fabricated past in its place. They questioned the goddess's true purpose, why such measures were necessary. But the father remained silent, fearing that if he revealed the truth, with Anos's stubborn nature, he wouldn't believe it. Otherwise, he would have shown himself long ago, not at such a fragile moment. The second question was why he sought to harm the divine librarian, Celis. Afraid that once his son regained those memories, the divine librarian would flee. Words were scarce as he pressed on, determined to drag that god before Anos. The self-proclaimed father, warned to step aside, Adanga awaited, and injuries could come. But Anos, fearless, challenged him to try, eager to witness the strength of this mysterious power. Then, as suddenly as he appeared, the figure vanished. When Anos's god returned, Akana had failed to capture the divine librarian, letting them slip away just as Sis had predicted. Akana nearly clashed with the opposing side, but they refused to fight. Their sole target was the divine document, which had already escaped. Besides, how could father and son truly battle? They simply lacked a shared purpose in this moment. After saying this, Celis signaled a retreat, promising to visit Anos next time. Anos asked Akana if she'd recovered the memories yet. She looked down, sadly still, no recollection. Later, back at the castle, the group discussed today's events. Jay and Misa's opponents were also demon beasts, likely minions of Celis, the self-proclaimed father. No one there knew much about him, but one thing was clear: he was incredibly powerful. There was no proof if his words were true or not. Asking Misa for insight, they found her unable to sense anything within his heart. It was utterly empty, making any judgment near impossible. Since the group had dreamt alongside Anos before, they recognized the man's face. At least they had met him once. Akana sensed something was being hidden, but chose silence. The young man urged everyone to rest. Inside, Akana admitted she had enough time, but none of the divine texts in that world matched her memories. This realization terrified a goddess like her. Fear of repeating past mistakes and failing to save Anos. It wasn't blame, it was beyond control. She had chosen to abandon her name, so fear was understandable. She couldn't accept being a goddess who was afraid, as that would unsettle the people. But only those who don't understand human hearts fail to save humanity. Humans are fragile creatures, and Akana's reaching out to save these weak souls was a true act of kindness. There was no need to dwell on past troubles. Now, she couldn't sleep, and wanted her brother to comfort her like old times before surrendering to rest. To truly understand the human heart is to grasp why salvation can sometimes fail us, humans fragile creatures by nature. Akana's outstretched hand toward the weak was an act of kindness itself, a beacon of hope beyond past regrets. But now, she couldn't sleep, yearning for the comfort of her brother's embrace, just like old times. Hearing this, Anos agreed to stay by her side through the night, as she confided in him about her own vulnerabilities despite being a goddess. She confessed her heart's weakness and pleaded with her brother to help her relive the dream from the night before. Before he could respond, she shed her clothes, inviting him into that shared vision. There, Akana had been deceived by Celis's cunning words promises of learning a new magic to defeat dragons, and aid her brother compelled her to follow the man. They arrived at the Flame of Judgment, prepared by Celis. Celis proclaimed that those who could endure the unbearable pain of plunging into the flames would gain unparalleled power. Fear gripped the young girl, but encouragement came from an unexpected uncle figure who placed a luminous pearl ring on her finger and initiated the summoning ritual. Akana's magical strength was still fragile, so the circle barely held. Celis lent his aid, successfully summoning a Dragona's shocking, terrifying revelation to Akana, fearing she'd be devoured. Yet Celis desired this outcome, assuring her she could not die even if swallowed by the dragon because she would be reborn within it, forging a new origin. The relentless pursuit of Akana and her kin by dragons was due to their search for a vessel to birth their offspring. The letter given earlier to Akana had hinted at the truth. The dragons sought not Anos but her. Witnessing this, Anos's heart softened. He helped his sister escape and claimed her as family to end this torment. He urged her to accept being consumed and reborn as a dragonborn, for only then would she no longer be a burden. Akana trembled, terrified of being devoured, for the unknown outcome was daunting. Celis admitted that the pain of dragon rebirth was agonizingly real. Yet, it was a sacrifice that might grant her freedom and a new life. Yet, once the dragon has devoured 1,000 others, Akana would resurrect wielding unimaginable power, finally able to stand beside her brother without fear. She barely managed to call for help before the dragon swallowed her whole. That's when Anos arrived, launching a fierce assault the moment anyone dared speak ill of his sister. Anos's strength was undeniable, but defeating Celis, that was a battle far from easy. He blamed his son for failing to save her, which fueled his own resolve. Though burdened by ancient curses, he refused to surrender, pushing the vile elder back into the flames of judgment. In a stunning move, he transformed the dragon into a weapon, hurling Celis into a blazing inferno, forcing him to endure unbearable pain. Despite the agony, this half-victory was a victory nonetheless. With that done, Anos pressed on. He plunged his blade straight through the dragon's belly, pulling out his sister as she began transforming into the origin. He desperately cast healing magic, but the results were grim. Akana woke, questioning how he knew she was here. He replied he'd read the letter she left behind, a plea not to act recklessly, but she had anyway. She apologized, but he blamed only his own weakness. Akana shared the same wish to grow stronger, no longer a hindrance to her brother. She knew Anos loved studying magic, yet it pained her that she was trapped in this forest home because of herself. When blood ties were absent, even sorrow cut deeper. She admitted they lacked the strength to save her, now only enough to cast the reincarnation spell. The origin had been altered by the dragon. After rebirth, she might journey to a new world. She forced a smile, promising she'd be okay so he wouldn't worry. Anos wished for one final birthday gift, to remain siblings forever, no matter what came. Though no blood bound them, their time together had been precious. Hearing this, Akana's heart soared. She vowed to become stronger in the next life and find her brother once again. Together they sealed this promise. Then Akana vanished. Anos swore he'd never let her tears fall like today's sorrow again. The next morning, both remembered that fragment of memory. Anos felt ashamed having made such a vow, yet failing to keep it, then forgetting it all. The little one thanked him and spoke of dreams. Perhaps after her death, Akana had been reborn as a goddess. It was unclear, especially since the Pope Gonroana claimed she was Militia reborn. If true, she and Anos had met over 2,000 years ago. Just as info hung in mystery, Celis's voice echoed, asking if they wished to know the truth, for he remembered all pasts Anos had forgotten. Beyond that, he proposed an alliance for the impending conflict here. Those involved were teleported to negotiate peacefully with Celis. First, he revealed his goal, to destroy the Godrit, for he was the guardian of the underground realm, plotting to conquer the surface world. The best move? Strike now to lure the Godrit out. If father and son attacked the entire underground territory, the Godrit would surely appear, allowing them to eradicate all threats endangering the surface. Though both wanted to protect the demon realm, their ideals clashed. Celis craved war, while Anos sought eternal peace. Celis scoffed at that peace too fragile to grasp, suggesting wiping the place from existence to avoid future worries. Anos stood firm, vowing to protect the surface without destroying Jordan. The father and son bickered. Celis never expected such stubbornness from his child, while Anos never imagined a father so weak he'd destroy other lands to defend his own. Celis shifted the topic to the rebel gods, the sibling pair Sasa and Misa, also known as the absurd god Genuzun Yu. He asked if they remembered him, but the sisters knew nothing. Seeing their amnesia, he recounted the legend. The absurd god fought in the first Judgment Festival, bestowing the blessing of the Covenant Jewel to the underground world. Yet betrayal followed. He handed half the jewel to Agatha, sparking a long war between two nations. When peace came, Genuzun Yu betrayed Agatha and defied the holy gods, earning the title Absurd God. His life was a tapestry of betrayals. He warned his son to avoid these two, but Anos ignored all advice. Celis believed one day Anos would remember. Men asked if he knew about his sister, a surprising question since Celis had no knowledge of any sister in his son's past. He recalled the judgment flames, but claimed never to have met the sister Anos mentioned. According to him, what Anos saw was all fabricated by gods. Two possibilities emerged. Celis was lying, or Anos's memories were false, manipulated to alter others' memories. Celis speculated only the creator god within Akana's body could do such a thing. For now, internal strife would pause to face the coming threat. Suddenly, Jordan's forces attacked the surface. Luckily, Anos had erected barriers, preventing disaster, though half the barrier vanished in the strike. This statement was strikingly fresh. Celis had no knowledge of the son or any sister recalling the events at the Flame of Judgment. The father spoke of never having met the sibling Anos mentioned. According to him, all those visions were illusions crafted by a god. Two possibilities emerged. Either he was lying, or the memories were fabricated to alter others' perceptions. Celis believed only the creator god within Akana's body could weave such deception. For now, the internal strife halted, allowing them to prepare for upcoming chaos. Yet strangely, the forces from Jordan launched a sudden assault on the surface. Fortunately, Anos had erected a protective barrier beforehand, preventing disaster. Half of that shield evaporated under the attack, leaving only 2 more strikes before Mida's inhabitants faced grave danger. Sis urged the destroyer to protect their realm, but he refused, determined to handle the crisis himself. Departing, his group soon intercepted the Dragonborn's assault, replicating the previous devastating strike. They had gathered many followers to cast a powerful spell, using magic eyes to extinguish the flames and commanding everyone to quench fires across the land. Akana grew uneasy, doubting her ability to hold back the blaze. Alone there was a limit to her power. Yet Anos entrusted her with the kingdom's defense, placing unwavering faith in her. He believed no one else was fit